Hi everybody, it's Brian here. Welcome back to my channel. So today's episode, it's all about reviewing designs. Today we're going to be looking at 5 designs that were recently sent into me so that we can actually critique them, give my suggestions, give any potential tips to help get these designs out in front of the eyes of more people. And I certainly hope that you're going to enjoy this episode. So with that said, let's hop over to my computer, grabbing my tea, let's get started. Now, before we continue with today's episode, the fact that you're here means that you are interested with all things pertaining to print on demand. And for that, welcome to this episode. Indeed, welcome to my channel. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like this episode and turn on your bell notification icon so that you'll be informed each and every time that I upload an episode to my channel. I upload episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, and the whole goal of this channel is to help you take your print-on-demand business to newer heights, to increase the potential of gaining more customers to your shop, and inevitably and hopefully to make more sales. So now let's pop over to my computer to start with today's episode. Okay, so welcome to my computer, and this is design review number 2. Is my design any good? Now, before we proceed with this particular design review critique, I just want to make it crystal clear that basically the advice and the tips that I'm going to be giving you is effectively based on my own experiences and the knowledge that I've gained through the years with respect to print on demand. So what I'm about to obviously state in this particular episode is just my opinion. It's not the end all be all. If you have been making sales with these particular designs, if you are the design owner of any of these designs that we are going to be reviewing today, then hey, basically just ignore it and all the best of luck to you. But if you are not making sales, and I have a feeling that's the reason why you sent the design into me, so that perhaps maybe I can give you some insight as to what maybe you could do in order to try and improve the potential of it making more sales. So with that said, let's get on to the first design and start with today's review. So the first design that we have here is Bitcoin Millionaire. And basically from the get-go, the first thing that I would highly recommend is that you take the whole entire design and move it up a little bit. I have a sneaking suspicion that when you uploaded it into the print area here, you were just a little bit low. You're not too far off, but for some reason or other, it's looking like it could afford to go up a little bit higher just to give it more of a balanced appearance on the shirt. Now, your selection of font, I cannot fault it. It's crisp, it's clear, you can easily see it, and you can read it quite clearly when you look at it. I think it's a good thing, so I wouldn't suggest changing it. The clip art of the sports car in front of the moon, I think can afford to improve a little bit. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you've got this really bright yellow sports car, and then the yellow of the font, they do not complement each other. Either choose the color from the car for your font, all right, so that obviously it will stand out. And then with respect to the moon, instead of leaving it as a black and white photo, which effectively that's what it looks like, I would go into your photo image editing program. I would give it a color overlay in the form of a light yellowish tinge, just sort of to complement the whole dynamic of the design. As it stands right now, it looks like you just grabbed a photo, a clip art, you slapped them on top of each other, put the Bitcoin Millionaire at the bottom, and slapped it on a t-shirt design in hopes of making a sale. And again, it's not totally bad, but there is room for improvement. And I think if you take a look at those tweaks, so bring it up a little higher, give that color overlay to the moon, and sample the yellow from the sports car and overlay it on top of the font color of the text, and I think it will make for a better design. But otherwise, you're on the right track, and I hope that this design brings you a lot of success. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Now, this one is a Happy Thanksgiving themed t-shirt, so be thankful for what you have. Okay, from the get-go, I have to say that I really like this design. I think the choice of the squirrel clip art carrying the acorn and the fact that it isn't one of your typical smooth edge squirrel clip arts, it's got that sort of geometrical feel to it, I think really works well against the font that you chose. And even with respect to the font, the fact that, you know, you've got Be Thankful in a slightly darker, bolder font, and then for what you have, slightly smaller I think it really adds a nice balance to the overall dynamic of the t-shirt. And then you have Happy Thanksgiving Day at the bottom. What I would suggest that you do, again, this is my own opinion, is maybe perhaps make Happy Thanksgiving slightly larger, just so that it actually meets from edge to edge in alignment with the Be Thankful at the top, so that you'll have that nice rectangular feel throughout the whole entire design. And again, it's a Thanksgiving Day design, so why not highlight the Happy Thanksgiving Day at the bottom, just to give it a bit more balance and obviously to make it stand out a little bit more. But your color palette, the choice of the color of the fonts, the choice of the font is really spot on. I really like this design, and I hope that if it hasn't started bringing you sales, it will do so, because of the fact that this kind of design and the fact that you haven't put any kind of dates on it, it's something that can be used year in, year out. And whether it's for a Canadian Thanksgiving or an American Thanksgiving, it will fit both. So well done for that. I really hope that it brings you a lot of success. Okay, Merry Vegan Christmas. So we have a bit of a cross between Halloween and Christmas. And I saw quite a number of shirts popping up in the marketplaces of the various POD platforms that I use pertaining to this. I think that it's an interesting idea, the fact that we're trying to merge Halloween and Christmas together. What do I like about this particular design? Unfortunately, there isn't a lot. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm putting you down or whatnot, because there is a lot of room for improvement with respect to this particular design. The fact that you chose this particular Christmas tree type of design and smacked it on top of the pumpkin with this sort of like blue that really stands out against it, there isn't, in my opinion, anything that complements each other with respect to the design. Instead, maybe perhaps what I would have suggested you do is you could have placed it onto the pumpkin and put a black color overlay, and then actually cut out that Christmas tree from the pumpkin itself, so that whatever color shirt a customer decides to purchase it on, that color will stand out for the Christmas tree. Because as it stands right now, again, it looks just like you got two clip arts, you smack them on top of each other, typed in Merry Vegan Christmas underneath, and hope that it would sell. What I do like about the font is the fact that you actually did it in a sort of like a half circle type of design to follow somewhat the contour of the pumpkin. But again, it's still quite haphazard. And all right, perhaps maybe the particular mock-up that you sent me wasn't a very high resolution, so it looks a little bit blurry and fogged out. But even your choice of font, it really doesn't meld with the design of the pumpkin and the Christmas tree. And then on top of that, you've got that shadow underneath the pumpkin over here, which probably came from the pumpkin clip art itself. And the fact that you've placed it on top of this t-shirt, particularly with respect to black, you can already tell that the black of the shadow doesn't really match with the black of the t-shirt. And I fear that when a customer sees it with another color, it's probably going to stand out in a very unsightly manner too as well. So what would I suggest that you do in order to help improve this particular design? First and foremost, I think you need a crisper and cleaner font if you're going to keep it with the half round, and that's absolutely fine. The Christmas tree, as I already informed you, stamp on it as a black and remove it, cut it out from the pumpkin, and obviously get rid of the underlying shadow for the pumpkin, and hopefully it should perhaps maybe catch somebody's eye. I'm not a big fan of this particular merging between Halloween and Christmas. Again, that's just my own opinion. If you do make sales out of it, that's what we're all here for, and good luck with it and all the best to you. But I think this particular design needs a little bit more work if you want to try and gain a little bit more sales out of it, or any sales for that matter. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so addicted to, and from the email that I received from the seller, apparently this is the Japanese font for Tokyo, so it's addicted to Tokyo. Now, I have to say that I really like this design. What do I like about it? I love the fact that you use the circular sunset type feel, and you embedded the skyline of Tokyo, and you gave it that sort of distressed look in the sort of like in the sunset, which is really great. That really works well. You've got addicted to, obviously following the circle over here, which is always a bonus to, as well, as opposed to just smacking it right across the top from left to right. So that's really good. And then obviously you decided to use the Japanese fonts. Now, What improvements would I suggest? Well, the first thing that I would do, if it were my design, is I would actually change the color of the font to white, or else at least at best the yellow from the suntan. Because as it stands right now, you've got a lot of colors working over here. So what we want to do is we want to try to balance the color palette that you're using to make sure that there is some uniformity to it. I don't believe that the red in the Addicted To and in the Japanese font follows the same color temperature as the colors that you use in the sunset. So either A, choose the yellow from the sunset and see how that looks, or else change it to white. Or if you want to, create two versions of it and let your customer decide which one he or she would prefer to purchase. The other thing that I would also suggest that you do is to stamp the skyline in black and then physically cut it out from the skyline. So that again, when a customer is going to purchase the design on whatever color shirts you have available, you have activated for it, well, the skyline will then reflect the color of the shirt that they wish to buy. And I would even go so far as to state the stroking that you have around the fonts, both for Addicted To and for the Japanese font, you extrapolate those two as well. So if they're going to do it on a black t-shirt, it's going to have that nice black crisp stroke around it. If it's a red or a blue or whatever color you feel that you're going to have it activated on, it will stand out too as well. Otherwise, I think this is a smashing design. I think it has a lot of potential. Good luck with it. And if you haven't made any sales yet, do keep an eye in terms of what keywords you are using to obviously get it out in front of the eyes of people. Yeah, and good luck with it. I really like it. Okay, so the next and final design that we're going to be looking at is obviously this shirt we see here, Color Your Life with Rainbowliciousness. Okay, I have to admit, this is the first time that I ever heard of Rainbowliciousness, and to be honest with you, I really am impressed. What do I like about this design? I like the fact that it's an in-your-face type of design. It really captures your attention when you're looking at it. I love the color palette. I love the fact that you went from red to purple, and you obviously interjected your yellows and greens across it, and you did that both with the quote on the top and obviously with the title at the bottom. It's nicely balanced, or maybe what I would suggest that you do, just sort of to keep it a little bit more balanced vertically on either side, is maybe perhaps to bring in Rainbowliciousness just a little bit. So if I were in Photoshop, I would grab a guide ruler on both the left and right hand side, and I would sort of transform this and just bring it in a little bit from the left and the right, just so that if I'm envisioning a rectangle across the design, everything is fitting nicely within the rectangle, and you're not getting these little pieces which are obviously dangling outside of the design. What I also like is the fact that the color temperatures that you use clearly came from the clip art itself. So I have a high degree of suspicion that you sampled the various colors from the design, which is absolutely great, so that you're not having a conflict of color temperature from your fonts to the design. So it's a really nice design standing out. It's a real great design for people who are into, being happy and motivated. And it's a great design that I would obviously wear on a dreary gray day in order to get the mood of those who are around me up and perky and energetic. If there's one small suggestion that I would make, and again, this is only my particular thoughts about this, is I think that the splatter effect that you have behind it is a little bit too busy, particularly around the beak area. So in this area over here. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you've got a lot of color action in the feathers down below. You've got this wonderful color palette within the bird and the feathers too as well. And then it looks like the dot splatter effect is taking a little bit away from it. So what I would suggest that you do, and again, this is my own opinion, I really don't mind the splatter effect on this side of the feathers. So if you have it on a PSD format file and you have everything on an individual layer, just turn everything off except for the splatter effect, and then just grab your rectangular marquee tool, grab this side of it and then duplicate it and flip it over and get rid of this part and just see what kind of effect it has on it. See if it actually helps to improve upon it. I have a sneaking suspicion it will. Otherwise, don't touch anything else of this design. It's a smashing design. It's really, really nice. And I certainly hope that if you haven't started making sales on it, you definitely will too as well. I'd really be interested to see what kind of keywords that you use for this particular design. So if you're the design owner and you're watching this episode right now, you clearly have my email address because you obviously emailed the design to me. I would really be interested to see the keywords that you created for that. So send them to me via email. Just to have a quick look. If there's something else I can help to obviously improve or maybe suggest some other keywords, I'd be happy to do so, because I think this design really deserves to be seen by a lot of people and hopefully to make a lot of purchases. So there you have it, everybody. We looked at 5 very interesting designs. All of them have a lot of potential. Just a few tweakings to be able to get them in front of the eyes of people, to make people want to say, wow, I really need to have that design. Let me open my wallet and click the add to cart button, which effectively is what we all hope for when we are obviously in this print-on-demand business game. Now, if you would like to have your design reviewed in an upcoming episode of Is My Design Any Good?, then I'm going to leave a link in the description below. All you have to do is just click on the link, follow the instructions, and send me your design for inclusion in an upcoming episode accordingly. But for today, that's all I have. And as always, be safe, be well, be creative. Bye for now.